reference to scuff marks that will only surface after 24 hours, which the doctors didn't note on the J88. So the honesty of that witness cannot be disregarded. The more important part of the state's evidence, my lord, was the independent evidence of the doctors. And it was the doctors' evidence that the allegations, as I put to them and demonstrated to them, was highly improbable. In fact, their evidence was that they would have expected to see fractures, far more severe injuries, as opposed to what they saw.
I know your 5 minutes is not up, but may I interrupt you on the score?
Certainly.
Because I'm expecting argument coming from the cross-examination that the doctor's examination fell short of an acceptable standard.
I disagree with that, my lord. Remember what Dr. Zimri's evidence was. It's patient-based information. So when a person reports to them, they report what is wrong, and therefore the doctors look for that. Now I will go one step further. If these accused presented the way they say they were assaulted, there is no way either of those doctors would have not noted the extent of those injuries. They didn't present that way. They didn't present that way on their videos either. So the doctors went. No fault can be placed at the feet of the doctors because, like they said, it's patient-based. It's what the patient tells them is wrong. But I even went one step further. Even if it wasn't told, even if the doctors were not told, their observations, there's no way these doctors would not have noted the observations had they been visible. My lord, as far as the issue of credibility is concerned, I know this court is not going to pronounce on the credibility of accused 1 and 2.
That's one of the reasons why in these type of inquiries the court doesn't give reasons.
Yes. But I
because you don't want to step into that inquiry as a final arbiter of that fact.
Indeed.
Because it's an interlocutory finding.
Indeed. But I can make submissions, my
You
lord.
may. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm going to put it as bluntly as I can. Both accused 1 and 2's credibility was shredded. And I say so for the following reasons. What we were told in their plea explanations changed. What we were told in terms of instructions that were put to state witnesses also developed. Then, when the accused took the stand, those instructions or their evidence further developed. Now, my lord, it's this simple. If what you're saying is the truth, there would be absolutely no reason why the evidence would change. And that's the state's strongest argument, that the credibility of these witnesses certainly were of a poor quality, and I'm being very kind when I say poor. With the exception of one, the defense witness that was called, my lord, the state will argue, was an honest witness. And I say so for the following reasons. Her evidence was that accused number 1 had walked past her. It was a few seconds. In that time, the probabilities of her making an observation, state will argue, is very minimal. But she was honest enough to concede that as soon as Mr. Apollos stepped out of her sight, she can't say what would have happened to him. And I even put to her the suggestion that Mr. Apollos could have fallen, Mr. Apollos could have been smacked by Mrs. Smith. She can't say. So I will argue that that witness's integrity is intact and her evidence may be accepted. And that is it, my lord. I think I'm under my 5 minutes.
No,
Safe to say?
You're over your 5 minutes, but you've got a lot of time left. Just shows you how long 45 minutes is.
Indeed. Indeed. But my lord, state's position is, state has discharged the onus. It cannot be argued that these statements were not freely and voluntarily made. I mean, the explanation, see, now you've invited me, so I will talk some more.
If you want to stop, by all means.
My lord.
Wow. So literally, I don't know if you watched the video yesterday where my Lord sets the tone of how he wants arguments to happen. He wants it to run for 45 minutes, but in the first 5 minutes of the 45 minutes, he will allow the counsels to speak and he won't interrupt. He promises not to interrupt. But after the 5 minutes, the judge is going to interrupt. That's what the judge set the tone for. Guess what the state did? The state went ahead, and argued their entire case in 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Basically, they said, Buta, and Steffi lied. And they lied. And not only did they lie once, but what they said in their plea bargain, when they arrived in court, if you've been following the trial from the very beginning, at the very, very beginning, they submitted their pleas. I remember being surprised why they did that. Because in the Senzime trial, they said, nope, we are just here, we're showing up, we're waiting for the state to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the 5 accused are guilty. But in this case, the 3 accused submitted their plea bargain right at the very beginning. So therefore, whatever evidence that the state brings has to kind of negate whatever their plea is. So they've shown their cards. Basically, they showed their cards too soon. Okay? So then the state argues that, well, what they said in their plea bargain and what they said during during this trial within a trial changed. And not only did it change then, it even changed further when the 2 accused took the stand. So literally, what it started off and what it ended for Buta and Steffi kept changing. Okay, it was evolving. There was a lot of metamorphosis. Why can't I say that word today? Oh my goodness. There was a lot of change, transformation, you name it. So the state said, you know what, I'm not even going to work hard. I'm just going to attack the bare minimum, which is these 2 are not credible witnesses. And both accused, 1 and 2's credibility was shredded by themselves. And guess what? I agree with her. It was self-detrimental what the 2 did. It was actually brutal to watch if you watched them. But you know what? Then my Lord says, you know what? You've got time. Come on now. Give me something to work with. You're making this too easy for me. And she says, well, if you insist, I can add a little bit more fluff to my argument because this is a slam dunk if you watch basketball. So let's listen to what she has to say next.
The accused's legal rights, and I'm referring to accused number 2 specifically, 5 times was what I counted when he was informed of his rights in terms of that notice 14A. Accused number 1, at least 3 times. So it cannot be said that any of these accused were not aware or properly informed of their rights.
Now I'm going to interrupt you because fast forward. With allegations of pre-statement, undue influence, torture, to put it lightly, that's the allegation. Then you have the next phase, and it applies to both of the deponents. You would realize I prefer not to refer to the persons as accused.
Yes.
Because in this inquiry, it's an inquiry as to the statement, so it's the deponents to the statements. I prefer to do that, but people that are used to litigating in criminal courts, it's so easy to refer to people as accused 1, accused 2, accused 3. I try as far as possible to stay away from it. But you've got those allegations. We had Mr. Harmse and Ms. Nkabai set out the basis upon which they will allege it's inadmissible. So phase 1 is Sea Border, Dr. Nell, Mr. the Colonel Pretorius. Right? That's your chain. So far as it relates to accused number 2, Lift, Jacobsbaai, Seaborder, Dr. Nell, Colonel Clark, Dr. Zimri, Captain Siakui. That's a sequence, right? So you have oral evidence on both sides. Insofar as it relates to phase 1, let's call it phase 1, that's the police involvement. You've got neutral evidence, phase 2. You've got oral evidence but supported by real evidence on the final phase. Except insofar as it relates to Mr. van Ryn, it's both Clark and Siakui. See, I should speak less. So my question is, when a court evaluates evidence, title to have regard to the demeanor of a witness. It's not the be-all and end-all. And yes, one have to take regard the standing of that person and the level of engagement you can have. To forget about, because you've already made your point about the 2 deponents in the witness stand. You've made brief submissions on the others, but they are professional witnesses, so to speak. Talking about the police officers. But their evidence should not be seen in isolation. What is the weight to be attached to the real evidence? And those are the exhibits, exhibits 2 and 3. It's the video recordings of the statements being taken. So there you can pick up demeanor, you can pick up the conduct of the interviewer, the police officer, because of the challenge that there's this undue influence and so forth, and it's carried through because you are of the same institution. You represent SAPS. Olden days, when the magistrates took it, the challenges were not as vociferous as now. It normally went up to the door of the magistrate, but separation of powers dictated that. Because this morning we had an example when your colleague was asking questions to Mr. van Ryn. And I'm sure a lot of people in the courtroom were surprised because they couldn't hear the audio when it was played. But if you then go beyond just what you see prima facie and you look at it, then you might draw conclusions. Now I'm asking you, as a court, in evaluating that evidence, how much weight does it carry in this inquiry?
Incredible, my lord, because as the court indicated, this is real evidence. What better view does a court have than to actually observe for itself the demeanor of a party? So, state submission, serious weight. I can't guide the court as to percentage, but my lord, definite weight can be placed on this evidence alone. Because it's real. You can't argue with what we saw, what we heard, what we observed.
Because remember, I gave you all these steps and all the components because one can't evaluate the real evidence in isolation. It's got to be evaluated holistically. But quite clearly, often you have certain aspects that weighs heavier. It's not all feathers in this bag. There are some stones as well. And which are the stones and which are the feathers?
We'll get there eventually. My Lord, if I may just add, what if we didn't have the video? Then all the court would have is the document. Look at how much more that real evidence adds to this court's mind when it comes to that determination, and as the court said, a holistic view. So how much more or how much better is it now that we have the video? In fact, I think Colonel Clark should be going around giving all officers lessons about how confessions must be taken. When we observed his conduct, when we observed the extent he went to. If we didn't have the video, my Lord, all we would have had is his document. We wouldn't have seen what he had done. If that answers the question.
Well, if you didn't have the video, insofar as it relates to Mr. Apollos is concerned, you wouldn't have picked up the manner of speech of Colonel Pretorius
100%.
by not necessarily using the words in the document, but breaking it down sometimes to slang words to try and explain.
Indeed.
Hence I'm asking you the question, because I've actually re-looked at all the videos. I've zoomed in on them. I tried to distill the words better. And it gives one a different picture if you do that.
100%, my Lord. We would not have observed from Mr. Apollos how he leans in and observes when Colonel Pretorius is writing, and then he pauses, he nods, and he carries on.
Well, if this matter was heard in Cape Town, we would have had the facility of just plugging in and putting it on the big screen in court.
Yes, my Lord.
Because we have the facilities there. Here we had to do with a screen. Maybe something the OCJ must think about, because I don't think this is the last case where we need to take justice to the people.
Indeed, my Lord.
Yes.
Those are my submissions. I have nothing further. I may have something in reply, but those are my submissions.
Now, if subject to what comes out, because you've only used 15 minutes, of which I've taken 7, Ms. Naidu-Chetty agrees. I might give you a little bit more time at the end if you need that.
Thank you,
Mr. Harmse, you want to take a break first, or are you ready to shoot?
Just in case you missed it, Judge Nathan said he does not like to refer to the accused as accused 1 and 2. He prefers to refer to them as deponents. And that is within a trial. And, it's just a personal preference. I know that people are so used to saying accused 1 and 2. But myself, Judge Nathan, I can't do it. I cannot bring myself to call Mr. Apollos, you guys have heard him refer to them in that manner, Mr. Apollos and Mr. Van Ryn, that's how he's consistently referred to them, consistently, and now we know why. And again, I come back to you and say one thing about Judge Nathan, he will explain himself, and you're left with nothing than to say, yes, my lord. And he literally explains us, and he walks us through, and he holds our hands, and he explains what is going on, even though he himself is not well. His cough, he's consistently coughing, he's struggling to breathe, he now has to wear a mask. Drinking water is not even assisting him, but he's still on the job working to bring justice for Joshlin Smith. It might not seem like it right now, because the focus was heavily on accused 1 and 2. But you know what? The judge says he doesn't like that. So you know what? In respect of my Lord's wishes, we'll call them Abuta and Steffi, okay? By their nicknames. So he He literally is going through the case. The focus is on Buta and Steffi right now, and he wanted to rush through it. Well, not really rush through it. He wanted to follow his timeline that he had allocated for this trial within the trial. And he's very happy that he got through what he wanted. And not only that, now you can hear him and the state just having a casual conversation. Because that's how easy this was for the state. And you can tell because that the judge was going to rule. We know now that the judge ruled that the statements, he also doesn't call them confessions, the statements are admissible. And that is why he's having this back and forth conversation with the state, calling it phase 1, the police involvement, phase 2, and then the final phase. He's not arguing or disputing anything she says. I think the worst thing for the defense here was allowing the videos to be played as evidence. Although the defense team thought that by allowing the videos to be played, that would actually work in their favor because it would show accused number 2, Steffi, falling asleep. Unfortunately for Mkabayi, Judge Nathan was using high technology, an iPad device, Apple iPad device, manufactured in China, assembled in California, We all know the trade wars that are going on right now. Let me know if you guys want me to cover that and how that affects South Africa. But in the meantime, Judge used his iPad, was able to zoom in and out, only to see eyeball movement. Accused number 1, reaching in to pause when, Mr. Policeman is writing down the alleged confession. And over there, accused 2, Steffi, he's doing what? He's not asleep. Not asleep. The judge is like, the eyeballs are moving. Even his facial expressions are visible. There was no falling asleep here. He might have been exhausted. He might have been tired. He might have been overwhelmed, but he certainly was not asleep, which is where Mkabayi lost the mark. And that's really, really sad because was she prepared for the defense? Did she watch the video as closely as the judge did before they agreed to admit it into evidence? That is where the situation is right now. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. That's the state's case. In 4 minutes and 33 seconds, the state was able to argue that the 2's credibility is shredded, aka they're not credible witnesses. They lie. They lied. But most importantly, when will they tell the truth of where Joshlin Smith is? Thanks for watching. You already know the house rules. Like, comment, and subscribe. I haven't done a full closing in a while. So let me go ahead and do a full closing of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, you absolutely have my heart. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. About 45% of you are watching this video and you're not subscribed. So please do check if you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. At the end of this video, I'm also going to include a link, to our members only section. Thank you to our brand new members from this week. I absolutely enjoyed seeing you and notifying me yourselves in the comment section. I love that for us. Lots in store coming up in our membership section. So I'm building up that catalog for you guys. So make sure you join so you don't miss out. In the meantime, you can also enjoy custom emojis by becoming a channel member. Now, to you who's not subscribed, it's still a good time. Stop watching from outside the club. Hit that subscription button. We're continuing down with the Joshlin case. Joshlin's case ends on the 25th of March. Then they take March break. Or should I say they take March recess. And then they're back after that. So, I'm going to end this video here. Thanks so much for watching. I absolutely love it when you do. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video, Share the video because we are searching for justice for Joshlin Smith. Where is Joshlin Smith? And if she indeed is on a boat that took her over there to the Western Africa, we need to make sure we're sharing these videos far and wide so somebody who spots Joshlin with the gorgeous eyes says, I've seen this gorgeous, gorgeous girl somewhere. Where could I have seen her? I think I watched a video on YouTube, and that is only possible when you guys share these videos. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on my next upload. New video for you guys. Very different style, but I'm going to be doing more of that in the membership side. Thanks for watching. Thanks for funding the channel. I'll catch you on my next upload.